welcome in all the way from Orlando Airport, one of the most amazing PGA Tour coaches ever, Mr. Sean Foley. Sean, are you with us?
Yes, I am. How are you today?
Hey, thank you so much. I know how busy. Did you get your luggage? Did it come through?
No, that luggage never doesn't come real quick.
Well, we won't keep you very long, Sean. We're just honored that you're with us on the show, and thank you for taking the time. How's your day?
Thanks for having me.
Hey, we just like a quick. First of all, for people who don't know you, we of course know you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and where you hail from and things like that?
Yeah, I'm from Toronto, Canada. 4 years ago, my wife and I moved to Orlando. I'm 36 now. My wife is Kate. My son is 2. His name is Quinn, and I've been teaching golf since I was about 19 years old, so it feels like about a half a lifetime, right?
Almost exactly right. And, both Mike and I are PGA professionals and instructors, and a lot of us, we dream about of being an instructor to these great players. It seems like you have just accomplished this dream, at least my dream. How do you do that? How did this come about?
I don't know. I guess it's, obviously, like, so much of success is based on breaks, and I think what happened when given the opportunity, I had the right information for that person, which was Stephen Ames at that, was the first 4 years ago. I think if I had met Sean O'Hair when I met Stephen Ames, I learned so much through teaching Stephen that kind of got me ready for Sean. I think if I'd met Sean first, I don't think I would have worked for him for very long. So I think it's, so much of success is kind of the breaks, and I think there's a lot of people, out there who are intelligent and passionate and extremely good at what they do. They just, it's getting that foot in the door. I think too, also a little bit in golf is that the issue is that there's a lot of opinions, not even educated opinions, but just kind of, the shoulders turn this way, the elbow goes here. You have to grip it like this. This is the perfect ball position.
Right.
And I think when you recognize that each and every person in front of you, whether they're a tour pro or whether they shoot 90, one, learn different, so you have to get into how they learn, because if you've got a visual learner and all you're doing is talking during your lesson, they're just wasting their money, no matter how smart you are, no matter how good you sound.
Right.
Because that's not how they learn, right?
So yeah, so well said.
That's an integral key of teaching, obviously. I remember when I was in high school, I got a D in algebra one semester, took it the next semester from another teacher and made an A. And, he made it interesting. He taught it a way that I could get it. So that's kind of something that I always go back to when I'm teaching people and try to figure out, how it is that they do learn. Because that really increases the speed. The second part is, understanding really neurologically how the brain works. So, we have these neural pathways in our brain that are connected to our motor cortex, and that's where we learn motor skills from. So movement. So, from an evolution standpoint, the neural pathway for walking is something that doesn't have to be taught. Obviously, it's been in us for ages and ages. Well, something like, hinging your wrist and folding your elbow and rotating your body and then loading into the ground and loading and then firing up and rotating, that's really not in our evolutionary process in a rotary move.
Right.
Obviously, when it comes down to the golf swing, I like to believe that it all starts from the ground up, as is pitching or a slap shot or, a shot put or, pitchers are always known to have good arms, but really what they do is they have, like, great foot, great leg, and great glute work. So, it's kind of having a basis of scientific evidence from biomechanics to geometry, and then even understanding, okay, like, how do we learn movement? So, basically, around these neural pathways, you have this fatty tissue that's called myelin, and it's basically when you get someone who shoots, 100 and they've had a slice for 20 years, the reason it's difficult in 3 lessons to get rid of it is because in order to change the pattern, they just have to increase myelin, but creating a new myelin sheath. So the fact is, when someone's like, oh, that was my old swing, your old swing is probably much closer to your new swing than your new swing is. So
wow.
I think when you understand the parameters and you really search for all the answers, and then I think at the end of the day, Mike, it's my ultimate passion. I've never met anyone who was extremely passionate about something who weren't good at it.
Well, I can tell you, joining us right now is Sean Foley, PGA Tour coach. I want to call you Dr. Sean Foley for some reason, but I'll tell you, Sean, you so well said, and you can hear the passion in your voice. Let me ask you, I called you a golf coach, and that's what you're known as, and a lot of the local people here go see their PGA professional for instruction and their golf instructors. You're both. What is the importance of being both? How you are also a coach to some of these great players. Can you identify both of them, coach and instructor?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that we're all probably, we're all teaching the golf swing, and I remembered when I first started teaching or whatever, I'd have a guy come, and 2 weeks before that, he was just an absolute legend. He was hitting it super good and all that. And then he came into the next lesson. He couldn't barely get the ball off the ground. And he started explaining his day at work, and I started to think, wow, that's really interesting, like how emotionally and kind of his acute stress, how much that was affecting the way that he was moving. So I just felt like over time that I started studying more about emotions, more of the philosophy of kind of being content and all that, and recognizing how big a role that plays. If you have a lot of conflict inside of you, if you have a lot of confrontation inside of you, it's going to be tough to move in this, in this beautiful pattern that the golf swing is. And, the limbic system is where our emotions are housed. And when people are playing golf, if the limbic system's turned on all the time, it changes rhythm, it changes timing, it changes tension, it changes transfer of force. So the coaching aspect of it was, I studied philosophy in university, so I've always kind of wondered why, Growing up, I was a pretty, I'd say, kind of incompetent, kind of insecure kid, had a lot of self-doubt, and right when I turned about 19, I got tired of living that way, and I wanted to figure out a better way to live, and I think I try to transfer those ideas onto my students. Sometimes they don't need them, but, most of us, life is tough. I mean, life is good, but life is tough, and it's got its peaks and valleys, and just trying to get people to realize that there's so much opportunity and failure that we need to recognize, and we don't learn much when we're on top. It's when we're down, that's when we really, integrity, character, all those things, perseverance, those are the things that I think make up, people who are effective,
Absolutely. Your mic's not on. Hold on one second.
Joining us right now, we have Sean Foley, PGA Tour coach. Sean, you have obviously a very, very busy schedule, and how do you schedule your lesson book when you're working with so many of the world's greatest golfers? Do they come to you? Do you go to them? How does that whole thing work?
Yeah, I mostly travel. When it comes to PGA Tour players, I mostly travel on the road. I do about 22 weeks a year. And then, like, for example, PGA Championship next week, Stephen Ames, Hunter Mahan, Sean O'Haron, Justin Rose, they're all in the field. So it's really just a function of even letting them know the week before. I mean, the good thing is they play together a lot. So it's good from one standpoint, I get to watch them, but it's not really good for the pre- or post-round because they're all there hitting balls. So I think that, I go out so much and I spend a lot of time with my guys, so I don't think they ever feel like there's a lack of time being spent in any form, and they have a good understanding, and, they even talk to each other about what they're working on and practice with each other and stuff. So we kind of create this nice little community, like, within each other, but more than anything, it's just like anyone's business. It's just about being organized and having proper management. So, next week I'll probably walk 120 holes and spend about, 22 hours on the range. So by Sunday, I'll be pretty whacked.
Wow. Yeah.
Joining us, Sean Foley, PGA Tour coach, and Sean, you mentioned 22 weeks a year you're traveling with these great players. The other 30 weeks, I'm sure you take some vacation time. Do you still have the passion for being on the lesson tee for the average player? Do you take time to still work? Your passion for teaching is obviously in your voice.
Yeah, no, I still have the passion, but my wife is really is my best friend, and I love spending time with her and my sons too, and I love being around him. So, being on tour and having some success out there has afforded me the ability to not come home and work as much. I mean, if I wasn't coaching them, say, tomorrow, I would still be teaching anyone and everyone, just as long as, I just wouldn't coach people I didn't think were putting the effort in. But if people were putting the effort in, I just like to see growth in people, whether it means you win the Masters or you just break 100. To me, there's really no difference.
But it has to be a partnership and a give and take, it sounds like. It seems like all the great instructors we've ever spoke with all say the same thing. It's a team effort between the student and the coach. So,
well, you guys know yourself, like how much it goes into it. By the time someone says to you, Mike, wow, you make it look so easy, you've done it 20,000 times. So, I mean, if they've done it 500 times, and the problem with human beings is we have this comparative aspect to how we look at things. So we compare ourselves to others, and that's where kind of the shame and self-guilt and kind of the disgust that we have for ourselves comes from. But the fact is, it's like there's no way that in a year I could become as good a skier as someone who's passionate about it, has been doing it for 15 years. I mean, unless I was just genetically, freaky, it doesn't work out like that. Right. So I think understanding the science behind the brain and learning, it allows you up front to tell someone, like, look, you're going to really struggle through this point, but look, we're going to have a lesson 5 months from now, and you're going to look at me at the end of the lesson and say, you should have told me this 5 months ago, but we had to build a foundation before we got to that, that one point where it became real simple,
Yeah, and how I got to go back to the three players that you mentioned working with Ames and Rose and then Mahan. How you obviously you have a swing philosophy, and we only have a couple more minutes, unfortunately, Sean, before we go to a national break here on ESPN Radio. Do you find that you have to modify your philosophy a little bit with these three players, especially in a situation that's upcoming with the PGA Championship?
Well, yeah, it's a great question, and from all the studying I've done on the body and all those different aspects, I mean, like Sean O'Hare has got extremely powerful legs. He's got a huge vertical leap, but he's tight in his hamstrings. He's flexible in internal rotation in his left hip. He's got poor external rotation in his right hip. So. Wow. And then up through his thoracic spine, he's almost like Cirque du Soleil. He's like Gumby. So Sean's going to be probably like the ultimate rotary model for me because he has the ability to get into those positions. So sometimes when Sean looks like he's made a big turn, he's actually still not turned enough. Whereas, Hunter's a little bit different. They're all different physiologically, but really the philosophy is to hit the ground in the same spot every time, to get the ball starting on the intended target line and having one miss. So contact is obviously evident in its importance. Being able to start it on your target line, whether that's left of the flag or at the flag or right of the flag, and then when you don't hit a good shot, it just keeps missing in the same direction. That's everything I'm teaching any of those guys has to have one, two, or all three of those in mind. So, Steven might be a little bit bowed at the top and a little bit vertical with arms and a little bit across the line, but he matches that up on the other side. So if I was to make him, as rounded as Sean and as steep in his shoulder turn at the top, he probably wouldn't be on the Canadian Tour. So, you work with what you have, and I still to this day don't know what's right, but I definitely have a good idea of what's wrong for each of them. So if I keep them from doing what's wrong, I mean, these guys' subconscious is omnipotent. I mean, their instincts are so great. Their dexterity is amazing. So just allowing them to be them and then helping them understand ball flight laws and why the ball is going where it's going. Because I think the Buddha said that the key to every teacher is to try and make himself obsolete to the student.
So well said.
So well spoken there, Sean, and we want to congratulate you for getting to where you're at, and obviously it's very obvious that you're very passionate about your teaching, and I think that definitely shows. Actions and success don't require words, but we got about another minute before National comes in here. We always ask this of our guests. Can you tell us, unless you're contractually obligated not to, what's in your bag? What do you play with?
I'm on the Nike staff. I play the Nike VR wedges, the Nike VR irons, pretty much VR all the way throughout now. And I think Nike's just done their game of catch-up that they've played in the last 4 or 5 years with equipment has just been unbelievably impressive. Obviously, they have great resources to do so, but yeah, I mean, obviously they sponsor me, so I obviously like their stuff. But
yeah, exactly.
It's the whole idea behind the swoosh and what it stands for. I think that I feel like I fit in good with it, and the people are passionate and they're all about athletics, so it's pretty cool.
Well, Sean, we got to thank you. Thanks for taking the time at the airport. We know how busy you are.
Yeah,
It's
you.
been an honor to have you on the show, Sean. Continue success, and my best to your players this coming week, man. We're going to keep an eye out for you.
Okay, thanks, guys. It was
Thanks,
nice
Sean.
talking to you.
Best to your family. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Bye now.
Bye. Well, that was Sean Foley, PGA Tour coach to the stars.